Okay, it's day 120, and this is part 8, I believe. Here at the National Cathedral, about a 3200 block or so on Wisconsin Avenue. So sort of between Carter Page, we all know where he lives, to 111 Wisconsin, and then at the top at Tenleytown is 4400. So the deadly 13 Russians have been released by Mueller and Rosenstein. They said no, they didn't actually have an impact on the election. But we ran, there was 4 that were in the United States beginning in 2014, according to the indictment. Well, we just did one search, and it's all task force. We did one search on Cree, like cry, lova. So if you cry over your lover, you would cry lova. It's Krylova, cry lova. And sort of like that WannaCry virus. And it turns out, well, actually, it's not quite what they said. Now, they had gone from all these different primary states to New Mexico to, I believe, Michigan, Colorado, about 8 or 9 states, sort of like our Veselnitskaya did with the New York Times guy going all around. What was surprising, though, is her father is Ukrainian. And her father actually came into Ypsilanti, Michigan, or Ypsilanti, however you want to say it, which is down by Detroit, more closer to Ann Arbor, actually, in 1998. So that doesn't actually sound like a Russian trying to get in. That sounds like a Ukrainian. And anyway, we have her in Ypsilanti or close by to Ann Arbor, where in this series I visited. I start my whole trip out in around March 28th in Ann Arbor. I believe I go there. I do a film there. Is at the McDonald's at like 5 a.m. or something. But I talked about, you could get fake medical degrees and put people from the University of Michigan if you had the right people on the board. And then you could start spreading and doing a diaspora of doctors there. And if you flew drugs into the Ann Arbor airport, which is very close to where Krylova lives or worked, you would have your little distribution network. I'm not saying that's what she did, but we do know that she tried to throw an election, and she was doing all this spy stuff, dropping cameras, dropping phones, dropping hard drives, dropping thumb drives. So this isn't something I've said. This is something the FBI has said. But Tyler Industries, the company she works for, is the most interesting. They do dossiers. I am not kidding. They do dossiers. Was the PP dossier done on a Tyler Industries product in Ann Arbor, Michigan? Is that really where the whole infiltration really started with the doctors? The doctors I started this series with a year ago when I first went on the road, when we first started talking about the pain clinics and the subbing out of the quarter weight. Why the subbing out of the quarter weight or the quartermaster drugs? Well, that's exactly what the Clinton Foundation did for anti-AIDS drugs with Unitate all the way back when I started watching Charles Ortel over a year ago, or more than a year ago. So why not? If you're willing to do it for Africa, well, then let's keep getting closer to the United States until they finally stop us. Well, let's try Michigan. And they tried it across the border. Then I went into Canada and I did a whole bunch of pain clinic stuff with a Canadian filmmaker. And that is coming to be the repeating pattern here. The VA seems to be the target. The quartermaster seems to be the target person. The quarter weight drugs, the quarter swap seems to be the modus operandi. And the Russians with the Verapharma drugs, that came with Joe Rago of the Wall Street Journal, looks like the source. Or potentially the ones, or potentially both. We don't know yet. We do have Muzaffar Awan. My first Awan that I reported on in person was outside the offices in Ann Arbor of Muzaffar Awan. And he is the right-hand man of Gulen, who I believe is the biggest drug dealer front in America, and also the biggest money laundering front, sending money through all these kids' and parents' accounts back to Turkey.